Hello and welcome to the channel. So we are back with these guys and lady, and it is Daredevil, Punisher, Electra Nanchos, Kingpin and Blockhead, a Spider-Man villain. And I'll tell you why I put him there. But we're coming first to the top section. Now this is how these guys were posed in my display. So you're seeing them as they were when I posed them out, but they're going to be changed today. I'm going to create some dynamic bits and bobs for you, and I hope you like what you see on the channel. I'm very pleased with Electra because she is really hard to get like that, and there is no foot stand, as you can see. But I will put her on a foot stand just for the benefit of time constraints and stopping me fiddling about. But we're going to do some poses with these guys, and then we're going to come over and have them interacting with these guys. Kingpin, and you'll see his fighting fists down there, so you'll see them pretty soon. And then you're going to come over and see Blockhead. Now apparently, according to the backstory, this guy, who's the cartoon or the comic book version of the guy, he worked for Kingpin, and his skull is made of adamantium, and eventually he decided to go it alone. So he's mainly a Spider-Man villain, but we're going to pause the film and kick it off with the first set of poses. So this is the first dynamic. Kingpin is squaring up to Daredevil. I've done it like this mainly because I wanted to show you those where he puts his billy sticks. I might do a pose with them holstered, I'm not sure yet. But we're going to come around more to Kingpin's point of view. And there he is, facing up to Daredevil. But we will turn them around so you can see what Daredevil's looking at. I might try the shot now. I quite like that dynamic. Not bad, but we'll swing over also to Electra. And if you notice, Punisher isn't in there yet, but I have got a few ideas. And because these two are both comic book, I've got them together. But I'm going to switch them around, see what that looks like. Let's come it round and show you Blockhead's point of view. That's not too bad, not brilliant, but it's early days. I could have picked up the other Electra where you do see her face, but I like this image of the figure. So we'll pause it and we'll ramp it up a bit. So we changed Electra's position and Blockhead's. I've tried to create the illusion of her turning her back on him and him trying to attack her. But she's got, well, she hasn't got Jedi instincts, but she's certainly got good martial arts instincts. I quite like that dynamic. And she is blocking his attack. And then if you come over onto the other side, you'll see Daredevil on the other side of the platform. I've raised up Kingpin's cane for that attack. Swing it around. Let's get a look at Daredevil. Not too bad. And I do like that figure. I'm a classic Daredevil fan, and I've been looking at them. I quite like the DD on the chest of Daredevil, but even though this figure hasn't got it, it is pretty much TV accurate, and I love the show. As you can see by one of the DVDs I've got in the background there. I'm yet to collect season, I think we're on season 4 now, but I do have all the rest. So let's pause it and see what else we can do. So, like Elektra, Daredevil can get onto one leg. I like the fact that that's not too bad, considering he hasn't got a foot stand. So we've got Kingpin trying to block that shot. Not a bad shot, not a bad angle. But I'm going to bring in Punisher soon, so you can see what that's all about. And then if you come across, slightly change the dynamic of Elektra, making contact with Blockhead. I hope that's his name, I'm pretty sure it is. But we'll pause it again and probably bring Punisher into it. So trying this one, Punisher is now on board in this fight against Kingpin. I actually did have the pose in which Daredevil and Kingpin were in this dynamic. I didn't have Punisher in the equation, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring him in, being they are kind of working together in Hell's Kitchen. And I quite like that dynamic. The Kingpin figure, as I've had him longer and longer, I realise he's a lot more articulate than I thought. But it's a nice dynamic. And let's get a close-up of Punisher. So glad to get this guy. I thought they might bring out the version where it would have a long coat, but this one is good enough for me. I'm not gone on to Elektra yet. I want to pose her out myself with another dynamic with her and Blockhead, but I thought I'd get that one in. So I'll put it on pause and see what we can come up with next. I thought I'd try this one because we do know that Punisher is in the scene next. Well, he is going to be. I'm going to bring him into this particular scene, but I just wanted to show Kingpin, who does get the better of Daredevil, as you know, and he's kind of a bit brutish about it when he does. I'm trying to get him sort of looking down towards Daredevil. I don't know if that comes across in camera, but I'm going to bring in Punisher. I quite like the look of it though. Looks alright so far. So let's bring Punisher in. Not sure about this one. I've changed the positions of Kingpin and Daredevil, but I've stuck Punisher back in there. And he's coming in to try and assist Daredevil, who's been knocked unconscious. But I've also tried to create the fighting dynamic that you do see Kingpin in when he's battering someone with the two fists. Not sure if it works, but that looks quite good there with Punisher. And this actor, Vincent Onofrio, I think his name is. I'm not sure of the last name, but I'm sure it's Vincent. He was in a film, I first saw him in a film, and he was really overweight, and it was called Full Metal Jacket, and it was directed by one of my favourite directors. I've got a few of his films in my collection, Stanley Kubrick. Now, if you've not heard of Stanley Kubrick, you must have heard of his films. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, and he's a pretty good filmmaker, but he's no longer with us. But he was in that film, Full Metal Jacket, as I think it was Trooperman Pyle, and he was a bit of a psycho, which is ironic, now he's become Kingpin. But I'm going to bring Elektra in soon. I just want to concentrate on these guys for now and see what I can get next. So this is Punisher and Daredevil double teaming to try and take out Kingpin. Quite like that effect. Quite like that angle. Just going to pause it for a second. I want to just change something. Excuse me. And you're back in the room. That's the angle I wanted. Sorry about that. quite like that. Easy to change Punisher. I do really like that. It's getting close. There you go. Much better. I'll put them on the other side and see what that looks like. So, just tried this. Not sure if I actually like it. Because I always think about the different angles when I do this sort of stuff. So I'll come in close as I can. And you've got Punisher in the background. I also like to try and get eye contact as well as movement, so it looks like they're actually looking at each other. The jury's still out, but I'll pull it back a bit and we'll go and concentrate a bit on Elektra Nanchos. So there's Elektra Nanchos on her knees, and Blockhead's getting the better of her, it seems. I've actually pulled down that mask covering a little bit so you can see a bit of her face. I'm going to try pulling it down further so you can see her lips, so just hang on there a sec. So that's better. I'll come in close, there you go. And yes, she's a female, unless Matt Murdock's wearing this lipstick. That's the DD I'm referring to. It wouldn't have been bad to have it on the TV version of Daredevil, but I want the comic book one anyway, so when I get that, I know that DD will be on there. But if you pull it back, you kind of see that dynamic. And I think I had this dynamic with Elektra, but I think it was Kingpin instead of Blockhead that was behind her. I'm just going to bring it around. Yeah, quite like that. Let's go close on Kingpin. Sorry, not Kingpin, Blockhead. And I've seen the comics for this guy and it's pretty spot on. I think the suit is awesome. He's very articulate. It comes with fighting fists. I'm not displaying those today. And that is the bat he does come with. Well, I've put a hand pistol in his left hand on occasion and had him with the other bat in the right hand. And that looks good. So let's pause it, let's see what else we can get. Not a bad one. I managed to raise the bat up higher with Blockhead. Let's come in close. I've changed her dynamics. I've pulled up the mask now so you can't see her face. Let's bring it round. Not too bad. Let's come in close. I do like that expression. That's kind of not too bad. I'm just going to change her position so you can look at what the figure's doing on her knees. So I'll pause it now. Yeah, so I think that's better for the viewer. Yeah, let's get in as close as I can. I have to pull out a bit, the focus is going on it. Now at some point I will be coming up with a final pose and you'll get to see that. And that's what they'll look like when they go back into display. Well, I think I'll do one more to end it with these guys and then go back to Daredevil and Punisher and Kingpin. So I thought this one would be a nice one to end with concerning Blockhead and Elektra. Let's get a close-up of her. I do love this figure. Actually, I was in a toy outlet that I often go into, just to have a nosy, and they get what you call kids toys. But every now and again they'll get in a batch of either Todd McFarlane figures or Marvel Legends, and she was in there. And these prices for Marvel Legends can fluctuate, but they're normally around 25 or 28 quid. And I decided, once I saw her going for a tenner, I was going to grab her. Now Elektra was somebody I was aware of, but I became more aware of her when she appeared in the film with Ben Affleck, who played Daredevil. And I thought Daredevil was good. I really liked that film. I thought Ben Affleck, whenever he does a role, he brings his own to it, just like he did with Batman, and it was a proper Daredevil. Could have been more violent, but it wasn't. And I think, is it Michael Dorn, who's no longer with us? He was in Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell. He was a good Kingpin. I really liked him. I suppose it was a bit of a political correctness choice, having him in there. I'm a black guy, and they had a black actor playing him, but it was a good one. But it was a good Daredevil, and yeah, and the woman that went on to be in that film as Elektra Nanchos then went on to be his wife, Ben Affleck's. I think they have a couple of children together. And then she appeared back in Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'm going to pause it there and pose out the guys for the last time into a pose that I hope will be good enough to go on my display, because if I'm not happy, I'll only go and change it. So stay tuned. So I wanted to kind of wind things up a bit with Punisher, because he's been in the background dealing with Daredevil because we've been looking at his poses. But I just wanted to show you some of the dynamics he can come get into. Now he's got that axe, and I found a way to holster that axe when you're not using it in a pose. I won't do that today, but I wanted to create a couple of dynamics with the guy. He deserves it. Now when I watched Punisher back in the day, it was played by Dolph Lundgren, I believe. I think it was, I'm sure it was. And it was in the ballpark, but since then, Ray Stevenson, who was in a series called Rome, appeared in a version of it called Warzone, and that was bad boy. That was more like the violent Punisher I was used to. So when he came on the scene, I thought, at last they've got it right, you know, pure violence of this man. I really like him. And they cancelled him, then they brought him back, and apparently he's going to get a third season or fourth season? I know I've got one of the seasons and I'm expecting the second one soon because I ordered it from America. But yeah, they're going to reboot him, and he should have his own movie because he's good enough. He stands alone in his own right. So I'm going to pause this one, come up with another pose, and talk a little bit more about the Punisher. No, I do like this one. Really like this one. I actually managed to get him on one foot, and I thought, you know what, I'm pleased he can do that. But what I decided to do is, rather than fall down while I'm filming, knowing my look, because I know he can stand on one foot, I thought I'd get the effect of him making actual contact on the jacket of Kingpin. So he's going to stay up anyway. But it's a nice dynamic of them two going to war. And we did see that when they were fighting in prison together. And I've got him there with his axe and his knife, and his gun has been holstered. And there's Kingpin. You can take a beating because he's got a special kind of armoured jacket, and the guy that designed that went on to design Daredevil suit. So on that note, I'm going to bring it into the final pose for these guys that will go into my display. So stay tuned. So welcome back for the final time. I do hope you've enjoyed some of the poses and I'm not on a bit of my waffle, gab, gab, gab. I posed them out in the way they're going to go back in the display. I'm still umming and ahhing about a few things, but I always do this. So we'll just start on the top deck, and there you've got, let's close in first on Daredevil. And I tend to like him on one knee. He can stand and do martial arts kicks, you've seen that. And the connecting wire between the billy sticks, I had him with those wires connecting the billy sticks, but I think I'm going to leave them off. I was thinking of holstering them, but I decided not to bother. Just keep it simple. But I kind of like the dynamic. It's not too bad, as you can see. Oh, I like this suit, and I'm sure they're going to bring out a future Daredevil suit and put those Ds on for the TV series. But I'm one of these guys, if I like something I'll keep it, and I don't tend to upgrade unless I'm a particular fan of the suit. I do that more with Batman figures. But there's your close up of Daredevil, and then we'll come across to Punisher. I've got him with his head slightly tilted down, as though he's about to chop the hell out of someone. But there you can see his holstered weapon. And then if I come around that iconic symbol, I've got all the Punisher films, even the one with, I think it's Thomas Jane, with John Travolta. That was a good film. It was violent in his own way. But at the end of the day, he's the man on the block. Funny enough, I saw David Hasselhoff, the iconic David Hasselhoff of Knight Rider fame, and he was playing Nick Fury in an 80s film, chomping on a cigar with a George Michael rough cut beard. It weren't a bad film, but when you see what Samuel L. Jackson's doing with that role, I don't think it's going to be beaten. And this is your Kingpin pose out. I've left him in with a fighting fist and put back his gripping hand so he can grip that cane, because he's known for it. I've actually seen the comic book version of Kingpin where he's in a black suit, but I'm into the TV series, and although I've got a comic book version of Spider-Man, if there's a Kingpin floating around cheap enough, I will grab him. So that's the three on the top deck, as you can see. And then we'll sweep over down to his final pose out. I do love that guy. I love the suit he's got on. Very comic book, but well done. And he's a good figure. I might bring him out again and pose him up against Spider-Man. And then we come across to Elektra. I've pulled her mask fully up so you can't even see her lips. But I've given her a simple pose. And I hope you've enjoyed watching me do my thing, because this is the posing channel. I'm not looking for big numbers. A thumbs up or down, I've got a thick skin. At the end of the day, it's just a bit of fun and giving you guys hopefully a few ideas. I do look on the internet, I do check out what you guys are doing, but at the end of the day, it's a family of fun for us collectors to interact with your collection and enjoy them all while you got them, because you never know what will happen in life. So we'll end it on those three. Kingpin on the left, Punisher on the right, and this man, Daredevil, in the centre. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.